It's time to introduce and welcome our guest speaker, Mark Stone, and I will let Dan, our program chair, to introduce our speaker. Dan,
thank you, President Alberto. Mark Stone is a professor emeritus of philosophy at Furman University. In his 28 years in the philosophy department, he has taught a wide variety of courses in the history of philosophy, logic, and Asian philosophy. He has practiced Japanese martial art of Aikido, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, for over 35 years and attained the rank of 6th Dan. He is currently a head instructor of the Furman Aikido Club, and he also holds a weekly meditation session at the Place of Peace. And with that, I give the floor to Professor Stone.
All right, thank you.
Did I pronounce that right?
Aikido, yeah.
Sorry about that.
That's fine. Just a comment on the pictures here. I'll have another picture of this, the entryway or the path leading up to the Place of Peace, which is one of the pictures. The picture in the middle is actually my Aikido teacher, David Shaner, who is instrumental in having the Place of Peace moved from Nagoya, Japan, to Furman University. He was instrumental in the fundraising for that. The picture there that was up was at the dedication ceremony of the Place of Peace. Ow. The other picture was probably a good picture of the interior of the Place of Peace. The pictures I have a couple of pictures of the interior, but they're very dark. But that was a nice picture, so you could see the meditation cushions inside there where we do the meditation. Let me share my screen here. Oops. What happened? So can y'all see the screen now? My screen? The Place of Peace? Okay.
Yes, we do. Thank you.
So that's obviously the title of the presentation. Next slide. And this is probably the same picture that, was it Ken?
Ken had one as a background, yes.
Yeah, that was his background for his Zoom meeting today. It's a picture of the Place of Peace, sort of the very front of it. Just in general, it is a unique site. It's the only Buddhist temple that has been deconstructed. It was originally built in Nagoya as a family temple of the Suzuki family. They had to sell the property that it was on, and because of their connections to Greenville and their commitment to the Greenville community and teaching about Japanese culture to the Greenville community that they wanted to share, they wanted to donate the temple to Greenville, to Furman University, and so they did that, and then it was deconstructed in Nagoya into about 3,000 pieces, and then moved over a period of a couple of years, and then reconstructed on the Furman campus, and actually dedicated in 2008. So it was quite an undertaking. And what you see here is the reconstructed temple. You can see a little bit of the foundation. I think Floor Daniel was responsible for doing the foundation for the temple. But then everything else was, I think, reconstructed from the original temple. I don't know if you've had a chance. If you're interested, there's an app called Pocket Sites. In that app, if you look up Furman University, there's a Furman Reflective Walk that has 2 locations. One of them is the Place of Peace. So that's another, if you're interested in following up after today on to learn more about the Place of Peace, it's a little presentation that's part of that reflective walk that I wrote and delivered. It's also there in conjunction with the Asian Garden, which is on the other side of the road from the Place of Peace. What I thought I'd do today is to maybe take you through what I typically do the first time I take a group of students there for meditation. I taught a course that was created by my Aikido teacher, also my colleague at Furman, David Shaner, called Realizing Body Mind. And part of that course has a meditation component where we would take the students to the Place of Peace and we would meditate. And the first time I basically introduced them to the Place of Peace, and we start at the very base of the walk up to the Place of Peace, where it has this placard about the Place of Peace, and you can read something about how it says it's in honor of Chigusa and Kyohiro Suzuki, which are the that's my cat, sorry. The mother and father of the family who came to Greenville. He was the head of a textile manufacturing concern in Greenville. And they're the ones who, it's originally their family temple, and then they're the ones who donated it to Furman University. So the Japanese for Place of Peace is Heisei-ji. And so when you actually get up to the temple, you can see that in the Japanese characters there, it's Heisei-ji, Place of Peace. So right about here is where that placard is. And what the idea of the Place of Peace as a place of meditation and calm, reflection and calmness is, it begins at the base of this walkway. It's maybe a little bit difficult to tell, but the rocks in the walkway are very small stones, and so it creates a very nice sort of pleasant, I guess, crackle beneath your feet. It's sort of a chance to start getting in the mood for meditation, and so I encourage my students. I say that our meditation session starts with the walk up this pathway. It's really very nice too if you've ever seen any Japanese or Chinese sort of Zen inspired pictures. You sort of it'll be a mountain, and then if you look closely, there'll be a little temple or a tea garden or something like that, sort of nestled in the side of the mountain. And so you have this same sort of feeling of moving up to the Place of Peace with this nice walkway. Couple of the other things here, there's some lanterns. So if it is dark, so when I'm doing the meditation sessions in the winter, it is dark, and so these light the way. There are also some other lights that light the way as you go up to the temple. Let's see. I guess this is just before spring too. So once you get to the top, so you can have a better view of this small gravel here. So part of the reflection, and it's very Japanese, the sense of different types of rocks, different types of perspectives. And so you have the large rocks, you have the small pebbles. Again, it's just sort of, you might say, a feast for the eyes and the ears. The other, gosh, I guess this was before 2008, obviously, but the Suzuki's also built a large center near Haywood Mall called the Yagodo Center, which was a Japanese culture learning center that had a very large building. They had classes there, tea ceremony, some restaurants. They also had a fabulous rock garden. When they sold that and eventually tore down the Yagodo Center, they took one of the main rocks from the rock garden, and so that's what you see here. It's again just a sort of connection to that original learning center. It also connects. You can sort of see here in the background. Can you see the lake? So that's part of the Asian garden, and so the line from this, there's a little fountain or waterfall type thing here. The line here goes directly up into the temple. And so it's maybe think of it in terms of the energy connecting the garden with the temple. So it's a very direct line, which was purposely, part of the purpose in terms of the design and how everything was situated. Let's go. Just to the left, as you get up there, is a traditional Chinese lantern. It's a sort of new moon lantern. Again, it's really a decorative part of a traditional tea garden. You don't actually use it for light for the place of peace because they have the electric lanterns. But again, it's just a very nice feature to sort of set the mood as you come up into the place of peace. Let's see. So these two slides are, one is a large picture of this chozubachi. It's a purification basin. And here's one of my students who's standing at the chozubachi. So here's where that stone was, and as you come up, you mount these steps, and now you notice you still have the sort of natural gravel, but you also have a very traditional pattern of cut granite stones that lead directly into the place of peace, to the temple. The chozubachi is I don't know if you've ever been to Japan. It's really a Japanese Shinto feature that's it's associated with the indigenous religion of Japan, Shinto. You'll find them typically right next to a Buddhist temple, so there'll be a purification ritual that you're encouraged to do. For meditation, the idea is not so much physical purification, but just sort of I'm going into a time where I'm going to try to become calm, to reflect. And I want to sort of like whatever I've been worrying about yesterday, the day before, the hour before, I just sort of put that behind me. And so it gives you a chance to sort of physicalize that by just putting your hand under the water and preparing yourself for meditation. Oops. So again, this is a very nice feature. It's too bad. If this were a video, you could hear the water. And again, it's a sort of auditory, visual preparation for meditation that's very, very calming. And I think the sort of preface to the talk, all the talk about peace and the peace pole and things like that, I think it's very appropriate for this being a place where that's possible, where you can just sort of, it's very natural. Sometimes there are mowers and blowers going on from Furman facilities, but usually it's very quiet and it's just the sound of the water hitting the basin, and then the sound of the birds or as they wake up and everything. Any questions up to this point? I don't know if
Mark, what we try to do, we try not to interrupt you, so we will dedicate a QA and
Okay.
A section at the end. So just
Okay,
go
yeah,
ahead and
that's fine. That's fine.
that will be in the chat, and I will read it to you at the end. Thank you.
That's fine. That's fine. And I always have students raising their hands about this point of the walk that I'm giving them. Say, what's this? What's that? This is the next slide is a close up of these. This is the corner of the roof. I really don't know that much about Japanese architecture. There's some things that you could probably do research and figure out. There's a left corner and a right corner. And on the corners are these, they're guardian dogs. They protect the temple. These are very small. If you ever go to a larger temple in Japan or China, either one, a Buddhist temple, these will be very large dogs, or they look like lions sometimes, that they're out in front of the temple. And typically one will have its mouth open, one has its mouth closed. In terms of the significance of that, like the mouth open is sort of sometimes symbolizes or represents the first breath that a child takes. And so then it's prefaced by maybe the last breath where the mouth is closed is one way to think about it. In a Christian tradition, we might think of the Alpha and Omega. These are sort of the opposite poles of the alphabet, the opposite life and death. In some sorts of breathing meditation, you'll exhale with your mouth open, inhale with your mouth closed. So it has a lot of sort of interesting connotations in different Buddhist and Chinese religious traditions. But these are a sort of natural part of the temple. The other thing you see are here, the family seal. This will be a seal that's unique to this temple. So other temples will have different symbols here. Yeah, these dogs are not scary. Some of the larger ones look really scary, but these are it's almost hard to see what's going on. I thought it'd be nice to have sort of picture so that you can maybe see a little bit of the construction of the temple. When I said it was deconstructed, the architectural feature that's unique about the temples is that they're not nailed together. When I first saw a temple like this, I thought about playing with Lincoln logs when I was a kid, where you just put it together and there's no nails or anything. Everything just fits together. But you can sort of see that sort of a mortise and tenon type construction here. There are no nails. It's all sort of pieces fitting on top of one another, sort of perfectly matched and set into one another. And it's true both on the inside. So this is the outside. And then this is one of the sections on the inside. You can sort of tell this is the front of the temple as well. That's the Heisei-ji placard there. One of the other architectural features, there's no heating and cooling inside the temple. It's just, so in that sense, it's very natural, which in the summer, it's like, I'm not sure I want to be that close to nature, but you can sort of feel the heat. The windows do open, so in the summer, you can have a nice breeze. The structure of the windows is traditional sort of bell-shaped. The top of it is sort of representative of flame, and the bottom like a lotus leaf, which are symbols in Buddhism. I think I have another slide. So this is the bell from the inside. So you can see the way the windows open, and so to let air in. The other thing that you can see, which is, to me, is very unique about the temple, these the posts they're very careful in the construction of the temple. When they cut down one of the trees for the building of a temple, they keep it oriented so this is still the base of that tree leading up to the top. You can also see this is a pin that once it's joined, they'll put the pin in to hold it together in terms of the construction. The other thing you can see here are the cushions for meditation. So when my students come in for meditate, they will have a zabuton, which is the larger cushion, and then a zafu, which is the smaller cushion. So you can sit there. The leader typically sits about right here at the front, and then the students will sit facing the front. As you can see, there's really nothing else, which is what happens in meditation. You're really reflecting on your own thoughts, ideas, calming yourself. And so there's really nothing there to distract you, which can be unsettling. We usually are in environments where there's so much there to distract us, and maybe we want distractions, but once you get inside, again, it's a very calming place with virtually no distractions. This is sort of from the very front. So this is where, when I lead a meditation, this is where I'm sitting. And so you can sort of see the students would be here. And then this is the line I was talking about. So from here, so behind me is a small alcove called the tokunama. That's where traditionally there would be Buddhist iconography, and there's also some purification things. And then the line here, that stone that we talked about is right here. And then continuing on there is the little waterfall in the Asian garden. They were allowed to move the temple because it was never dedicated. A Buddhist priest was never dedicated to the temple. And so that was one of the reasons they were allowed to move it. If they had dedicated a dedicated priest connected to the temple, they would not have been. They would have had to have destroyed it when they sold the property. That's really the end of my presentation. I wanted to sort of end. It's a picture of the unique lock that closes the place of peace. It's interesting. I was at the Kashiwara Gardens in Tokyo, Japan, a very wonderful garden in the middle of Tokyo. And the little tea house there had the exact same type of lock on it. So again, it's sort of reminds me of the authenticity of the place of peace as a Japanese learning center, the authenticity of the naturalness of the place. So again, you can see the naturalness of the wood here. All right, so that's some of the things I wanted to share. I'm more than happy to say more about it and answer questions if you have any.
Mark, that was wonderful. I actually had no idea that such a place did exist.
Yes, yeah.
And you're like me in Japan, in one of those really meditation places. So it's a perfect reproduction. It's fantastic. And thank you for what you do, and for giving us this update. At least I'm talking for myself. I was not aware, and I'm totally surprised. It blew my mind. So really. So having said that, let me read you some of the questions that came up from our e-clubbers. This is what we call our members e-clubbers.
Okay.
This is from Candace. Candace, the first question is, does the university facility department maintain the building and site?
Yeah, so the Furman facilities is in charge of maintenance. what will happen is that so I do some of the cleaning and fairly regularly, but they also any sort of so for example so I'll use Ken's picture. You can see the white plaster on Ken's picture of the place of peace there. Sometimes that will get dirty or not really damaged, but maybe it'll have not. It's just it'll get dirty. So the Furman facilities will sort of sand that some periodically. They do the upkeep on the paths to make sure that those are still well groomed. Whenever we have a martial arts conference with guests from Japan who come to see the place of peace, we sort of make a special effort to get everything cleaned up, and that's when the Furman facilities will come in and help do the maintenance there. Yeah.
I'm actually adding to this question. Do you engage your students to keep clean the place and help grooming it?
No, because they're really the students will. So I've taught maybe 10 to 15 classes, so that's 200 or so students. So they sort of come and go. I think it's important that to keep facilities involved, because on a long-term basis, that really has to be who maintains the temple. The focus for my students is more like on the meditative experience and the sort of things that they get in terms of both the calming effect of it, the sounds, the smells, the taste,
right.
Not the taste, but the whole experience. Yeah.
Well, yeah, thank you for that. And the next question, still from Candace, is do many of the students, that's very good, do many of the students continue a practice of meditation?
No. I have the people that I have that do the weekly meditation are typically community members. So I'll have 4 to 10 members from the community that come and do that. I do have students occasionally. I have certainly one student that took my course last spring, has been fairly committed, but that session is 7:20 to 8 in the morning, and students generally are staying up till midnight or 1 or 2 and
Understood.
So which is a shame. Furman is, I think, committed to mindfulness type courses, so the students do participate in other courses in mindfulness that happen during the day, but I sort of do the morning meditations because that is when it's quiet, typically,
right.
and that's when I feel like a person can really feel the most connection with nature, with the environment, and with whatever religious or spiritual feelings they might cultivate.
Right, and not all the students are already out of it and about at that time.
No.
Depending on how they ended up the night before.
Exactly.
I guess. So, still from Candace, what originally prompted your interest in Asian philosophy and religion?
Originally, the martial arts practice. So in Aikido, there are there's several branches of Aikido. The one that I practice has sort of 5 disciplines. One of them is the martial arts practice, which is, you might think of it in terms of self-defense, or you might think of it in terms of really just awareness training and in terms of physical interaction with others. But there are also 2 other, you might say, internal practices. One, key breathing, and then key meditation. And so that's how I really got started with the meditation aspect. And then that really led to what are the just as a philosopher, I became interested in the philosophical background to those practices, both to the martial arts, to the meditation. There's also a healing practice that's part of my Aikido called Kiatsu therapy. And so again, that's sort of prompted my interest. My Aikido teacher also is the Asian studies, taught Asian studies. And so he's really the scholar from whom I learned the most as well.
Thank you. And yes, I know that most of martial arts are not martial arts by themselves, but they are connected to meditation and Buddhism or religion. So it's all connected there. So
yes, yeah,
absolutely. Thank you for that. It's an interesting question for Franca, and she's wondering if a temple is open to the public for meditation, or is open for Furman students, and specifically just during classes.
There are in the past, and I think this is still true at the moment. A student docent who's sort of trained to know something about the temple, the place of peace, opens the place of peace on the weekends from 1 to 3, Saturday and Sunday. There's no formal meditation, but that is a time when people can come and go inside the temple, and I imagine that they can go in and sit quietly. There's no formal structured meditation like what I'm doing. And when I say formal structured, I'm not saying anything. They just know I ring a bell to start it, and we sit for 40 minutes in silence, and then I ring a bell to end it.
And they hear your bell. We couldn't hear our bell today. I apologize for that. So thank you for that answer, and very good to know that. And Millie actually is wondering, she's wondering and asking who erected the temple at Furman, given its specific construction requirements. So it's not something that here on this side of a pond we're used to, an architect, and we have an architect here.
Yeah, certainly they were worried about giving an American company the specs on doing the foundation like this is, but they actually did an excellent job with the foundation. It's really interesting in Japan. They have different guilds who do different types of construction. There's a specific, we would call it a guild, I guess, of craftsmen, and what they do is temple construction and repair. And so that's what they do. All they do is work on temples. And so part of the preparation for reconstructing is to raise the money to pay Japanese craftsmen to come from Japan and stay for however, I can't remember how many months, it was maybe 3 or 4 months, to stay and reconstruct the temple. But that's, these are not handyman. These are craftsmen who, this is what they do, is just work on temples, both the reconstruction, the plaster work, the tile work for the roof and everything. So
we can say this is not an imitation, it's an original.
Oh yeah, this is absolutely. And so it is the only temple that was constructed in Japan and moved entirely, piece by piece to America and reconstruct. There's no other temple in the US like this.
Wow. That's amazing. I mean, just thinking that the whole process, they just getting craftsmen for Japan involved in this, have everything pre-constructed and shipped, just budget management of that.
Oh yeah,
I guess it was, and as being, I'm just talking from the project manager side, and can talk about the architectural side, but I can see the nightmare or the difficulties associated with handling all that, especially if everything has to be handled offsite or even worse overseas. So
Yeah, so just the concerns with the wood, this is over a 2-year period. They're having to package the wood basically to make sure it doesn't warp because you
yeah,
can
to
imagine a
age the
different
wood.
sort of humidity conditions that it was, moved through the Panama Canal. So if you think about
Wow.
the humidity conditions that are changing over the course of going from Japan, Nagoya to Japan, over the Pacific, through the Panama Canal, up.
Well, evidently they did a fantastic job in aging the wood, so you wouldn't warp
Yeah,
or
yeah,
bend or gray out probably. So
yeah.
kudos, I mean, kudos to everybody who got involved in this project, and kudos for you to you too, for staying involved and since the get go, I guess. And also. Another question again from Franca is, does Furman offer meditation seminars for non-students?
Uh, Not that I know of. What I do is the only sort of meditation for non-students. Um, and like I said, I sort of think of it as ecumenical. I don't really teach any sort of particular meditation practice. It's usually, like I said, it's someone has already, learned something somewhere else. Um, I know some of the members are Christians, some are Buddhists, some are, might say, seekers. Um, and so I'm there sort of to lead the meditation, and as I tell them, if they're interested in knowing what I do and knowing sort of how to make a 40-minute period of silence productive, I'm more than happy to talk to people about how to make that happen, as opposed to something painful or stressful, because that's the opposite of what you want, right?
Yeah, oh, absolutely, certainly. And as I told you, project manager, architect, but we have all kind of trades and specialty here. And Candace she is a forester. So, or she has been a forester, but that's what she still is. And so her question now is there a tradition, a specific type of wood used for this type of buildings? That comes from a forester.
Yeah, let me get the correct pronunciation. I do have notes here for that. Um, so the floor, so when you go in, the floor, so you do have to wear socks so I make people wear socks because the floor is unfinished. The wood here is hinoki, H-I-N, excuse me, Hinoki. It's a type of cypress. And then the balance of the wood used in the building is keyaki, Keyaki, keyaki. It's unfinished, so it's important that people have socks on so that the oils from your feet and so on don't get into the wood. It has a very unique. When you go into the place of peace, it has a very unique smell that obviously you get used to it. So after 10 minutes, you don't smell it anymore. But the very first moment you go in, it's just again, it's like, oh yeah, this is Japan. Because you'll have this, you if you've been into any temples in Japan, you'll recognize, oh yeah, this is the smell of a temple. So those are the types of wood that are involved. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. And the next question from Julie Tovey, and she's asking, what type of courses are students taking to engage with a temple?
So first, the course I teach is basically an introductory course in Asian philosophy that includes a meditation component and then also a martial arts component. I think they also use it to teach something about traditional architecture. So that may be in the art department or in Japanese studies department. So those those are the things I'm familiar with. Just in terms of the way Furman views the building, it's considered a sort of Asian learning center. So it's a place to learn about Asian practices. I know they've had tea ceremonies there in the past. It's not technically a tea garden, but it is a sort of natural place to learn something about Japanese tea ceremony. And it's also, so I think that the pocket sites reflective walk, it's considered one of the sort of, what's the right word? Sustainability sites on the Furman campus, just to sort of think in terms of sustainability, because it is a completely natural area that, as long as it's not set fire to, should last a very long time.
Thank you for that. And well, we have a bunch of questions for you, but I'm really getting close to end time. So I'll try to rush through it a little bit. Ken, the architect, is asking, are you familiar with Rotary Peace Studies program of university master degrees? And that some of that, if you prior to ask you to speak, we had a slide talking about the peace studies and peace centers in actually Rotary has peace universities, and they actually opened a brand new one. I believe is in Istanbul, Turkey, and those are real university. And so peace student going there, and they come out graduated as peace fellow, and they try to work and spread the peace words everywhere in the world, and they established location and developed all the peace process. So thank you, Ken, for that. And Candace just stating this, not a question, but it's still very powerful that you make young people aware of his avenue spiritually. You never know when it might come back to them later in life, even if they don't pursue it now. So,
yeah, no, and that's exactly the way I feel about it. It's especially important to me to introduce students. I know, college is a unique sort of time, and students are doing all sorts of exploration. So for me, it's like planting a seed that at some time I feel like it gives them a unique perspective, a unique view of the world, a view of spirituality that they might not otherwise get, and sort of opens their mind to other possibilities, which for me, that's why I was in philosophy. That's sort of the way I thought about all the philosophy courses I taught, and just sort of introducing students to different perspectives, just to help enlarge their minds, basically.
Well, that's a very powerful message. But thanks both of you for that. And I think I get to the last one, which is back again from the architect Ken, and he is curious to know who designed the landscape plan for the site. I imagine the Japanese guys.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yes, in the pocket sites, there's a separate discussion of the Asian garden. It might be that all of that is part of the same sort of landscape architectural plans. I'm not sure.
But Mark, thank you, and you can read in the bottom of the chat. All of us have been absolutely ecstatic about your presentation. It's fascinating. Thank you so much for that.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
And we will love to ask you another 1,000 questions. Unfortunately, we're running out of time, so we apologize for that. But thank you.
So, thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to y'all.
And we apologize. I apologize for some of the technical inconvenience, like sound. But what we do with our speakers, instead of giving the speaker a pen or so forth, so we have little free libraries, and we actually about to put one more out, and where we put books. And what we do with our guest speaker is to, I hope you see this, you all see the screen, a book that will be dedicated to you today.